All right. Are you a author, or someone who is thinking about writing a book or creating a book, but you have and you're creating content in order to be able to drive awareness, to create traction and sales for your book? If that is you, this episode of the live stream of the Published Creator Podcast is for you. All right. So thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Rodney Washington, and I help content creators, authors who use content creation as a way to promote their books, to get their books out there, to drive more awareness, traffic, attention, and sales. I help them create a what I call an authority ecosystem that will help them to sell and more of their books and related services, which I highly recommend that they do, even as they're going through the process of creating their books. So again, if that's you, you're watching the perfect episode for you today, and I'm glad to have you here. So what I'm going to do here really quickly is I'm going to switch gears because I have a presentation for you that I'm going to go through. Again, this is a live taping of the episode of the Publish Creator Podcast. I do publish a podcast episode at least twice a month, sometimes 4 times a month. It depends upon my schedule, but I want to do something different today and record this and do it as a live stream. I am also have the chat box available here. So if you're watching on YouTube and you have any questions or any comments that you'd like to share with me, feel free to leave them in the comments because I do have that open and I will take a look at that. I won't be able to see it, unfortunately, when I'm in the middle of the presentation that I have, but I will go back and take a look at look at them, as I go through the presentation. So, and of course, if you're watching the replay, I will also provide a link for a way that you can connect with me to get more support and get questions answered around some of the topics that I talked about today. All righty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move back over to Zoom really quickly, and I'm going to start the slideshow, and then we will get started. Righty, 2 seconds. You're kind of doing it all by yourself. It's a little challenging, but anyway, it's all good. It's all good. All righty. So let's see here. Let's do screen share. All righty. And I just want to make sure that that is broadcasting so that you can see it before I get started. Okay, that is broadcasting. Perfect. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back over to let's see here. Actually, I'm on the wrong slide. Okay, I'm going to pop this up, make this bigger. I'm going to get right into it. All righty. So I started doing a presentation that I started about a month ago called the Authorpreneur Decision Room. And I created it because I wanted to really start talking to, I have all of my clients are either working on a book and or have published a book. And what I have found across the board, not just with my clients in particular, but what I have found across the board with the the mentality around the self-publishing industry is this idea that once I've created my book, once I've published the book and it's available on Amazon, then my work is done. It's up there, it's available for sale. People are going to just find the book organically on the platform. I'm not going to have to really do anything, and I'm just going to get sales. And that was something that I know, first of all, firsthand, I know that that's not true. Even New York Times best-selling authors who use Amazon as as a platform, what I call for fulfillment, because that's really what their role is fulfillment. They have to do things. They have to do things like what we're going to talk about today in order to be able to generate those sales. So it doesn't just happen because the book exists on the platform. It's actually something that we have to do as author creators, what I call authorpreneurs, to be able to sell what we've spent so much time working on. Now, one of the ways that we do that is through the creation of content. So, of course, we all know social media. We're going to talk about that today as well. We all do social media. We all are, active on whatever platform. Some of us are more active on one more than the other. And maybe we'll occasionally post things, maybe we won't post things as regularly, but we do it in the hopes that it will drive some awareness about the fact that our book is available for purchase. But more often than not, it's a hit or miss effort. It's not consistent. And there's no messaging that's happening that's actually driving the people that we want to know about our work to incentivize them to actually go over there and actually purchase it. So if I know that content is the driver that will bring people over to my platform, if I know that that's the case, then I'm going to need to do things. I'm going to need to create my content in such a way, not just the volume of content, but what the actual content, the form of the content takes, which I'm going to talk about that, the form the content takes, as well as the frequency of the content, but less about frequency, but more about quality. And that's the key. And the roads that we talk about in that content creation, that strategic way of thinking about it, will help then to drive awareness, which makes your offer, we're going to talk about offers, a natural progression. It's a natural progression. So what we put in our content, that's why I titled this Stop Posting Content That Doesn't Pay. If we're just posting, oh, my book's available on Amazon, you don't even know, well, what's the book about? What's the subject about? What is the thing that our book, who is the book for? What's the messages? What's the problems? What's the topic? What's the things that that book solves? What is my reason for wanting to go over to go look at the book, let alone buy the book? That's where a lot of authorpreneurs, I call authors, who want to graduate to becoming an authorpreneur, need to start to think differently about what they're creating. And so that at a core goes into building an authority assets. And we're going to talk about that today too, authority assets that actually sell our work. So this is very strategic in what we're talking about today. But if you can adopt what we're sharing, you're going to get a lot more value out of this, watching the replay of this. And also, too, if you're watching the replay of this, I would love it if you would comment on what was one of the biggest takeaways that you took from what we are covering. Because I know that what I'm going to share with you today is going to really move the needle for you in a major way. All righty. Now, let's see here. Let's move right to it. Okay. So what I'd like you to do in the chat, if you're watching this on YouTube, if your book is currently published, I'd love it if you type a 1 in the chat. If you're working on your book right now, put a 2 in the chat. So if your book is published, put a 1 in the chat. And even you can even type in the chat what your book is about if you like. And if you're working on your book, same thing. Type a 2 in the chat. And then if your book is ready to go, or if you know what the subject and title of the book is going to be, then feel free to put that in the chat as well. All righty. And like I said, when I finish with go through some of this, I'll go back and take a look at what you wrote. The next thing, type a 1 in the chat if you have an established platform. Now, if you don't know what that means, I'm going to talk about that. What it means to have an authority platform. If you have one, you already know you do. All right. And then, or type a 2 in the chat if you're working on your platform. So type a 1 in the chat if you have an established platform. Type a 2 in the chat if you're working on your platform. All righty. Now, as I said earlier, my name is Rodney Washington. I host the Publish Creator podcast, authority ecosystem strategist for coaches, creators, and experts who are authoring or have authored a book, self-published a book. It doesn't have to be self-published. I help you build authority platforms so that your content, your offers, and your book actually leads to income and opportunities. I've been doing this really for 30 plus years, but really focusing and honing in on the things I'm going to talk about with you today for the last 5, really 10 years, but really more intently in the last 5 years. So I'm going to start off by asking you this question, the definition of what is an entrepreneur. My definition of an entrepreneur is a mission-driven expert who builds authority ecosystems around their expertise using platforms, audiences, offers, and experiences that eventually evolve into books and other paid income opportunities that expand influence, impact, and income. Okay, this is one that's worth screenshotting. Again, there's a difference between someone who's authored and published a book and someone who's an authorpreneur. And once you get clear on that identity shift, the actions that you take will reflect that. And you will see a difference in how people are reacting to what you create and ultimately what you're offering for sale. Now, again, the focus of this conversation is around content. So before we talk about content, we need to talk about what's happening currently for content creators. You may not label yourself a content creator, but if you've written a book or you're writing a book, you are a content creator. Okay. And if you're using social media in any form or fashion, or even live talks, speaking, live workshops, anything of that nature, you are a content creator. But first, let's talk about this. Many people will say, when we, especially if you are not a person who identifies as a content creator, we will say that we have a content problem. We will say that I don't really know. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to talk about all the time. I'm constantly trying to come up with stuff. Creating content takes up so much time. I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel. I'm constantly producing all this stuff if you are doing it. And it's not consistent. We feel overwhelmed by it. It just becomes like, if I can just produce more content, if you're in the mindset of, I just need to produce more content because I know that will produce more sales. Yes, that's true to a point. But if the content doesn't, as I mentioned earlier, doesn't lead to people wanting to click on or go to your website, your Amazon, wherever you're going to do, if that's what, if that's what you're offering, more volume is not going to help the situation. There has to be a strategic reason behind what you're posting. And so we will say either I have a time problem because I don't have time to produce this, or I'm posting it, nothing's happening. And I'll ask you to do this too if you're listening, watching the replay, is type a 1 in the chat if you are a person who feels like I don't have time to create content, or type a 1 if I don't have time to produce a lot of content, or 2 in the chat if I'm posting content and it's not leading to anything. Like people aren't clicking to go to my website or Amazon or wherever. All right. Because actually what the deal is you don't have a content problem. What you actually have is an asset problem. And that's what we're going to talk about, because it's not just spray and pray. It's about thinking strategically about what you're posting so that it leads naturally to the invitations that you're going to make to people to go take the next step with you. So it's what you're choosing to post, not the frequency, not the volume, what you're choosing to post. Because this is what most of us, our experience is. We post, we get a little engagement, or maybe you can get a lot. Now, I'll even say this is even more frustrating. If you're posting and you're getting engagement, I'll leave it up to you to define what a lot is for you. A lot can mean 4 or 5, a lot can be 100. I was on a webinar recently where there was a gentleman that was saying that he had a client that had 5 million, and literally 5 million views of his YouTube videos, but he was getting no sales. Now let that sink in for a minute. 5 million views and no sales. So he didn't have a volume problem. He didn't have an engagement problem. But that's what we're going to talk about today. So you can be posting, getting engagement, and resulting in nothing. Or you could be very little posting, getting no engagement, And I'm even going to talk about that too as well, because this is also something that I know is really important. Many people who have been caught up in the I need to produce content game have adopted this mentality that if I'm not getting a direct click immediately when I post something over to whatever it is I'm offering, mean I post something at 12 o'clock and by 1:30, if I haven't gotten a sale, or 2 o'clock or the next day or whatever, I haven't gotten a sale immediately, the content didn't work. I'm going to tell you from personal experience, the perspective shift that needs to happen here is the content game is a cumulative experience. It's not I do this by 1 o'clock and I get a sale by 1:15. This builds up over time. This builds up over time. Consistency, but not volume. Consistency, but not necessarily volume, is what's going to actually move the needle. All righty. Now, for those who, again, the title of this is Creating Content That Pays. Well, this is what the deal is. If your content isn't connecting to something that pays, it won't. It won't. One of the best pieces of advice I can give you right now is, if you haven't, either you already have something that you know that people will buy, and I'm even going to talk about it if you haven't figured that out yet. But if your content is naturally progressing to what you're selling, you can post something and it not result in a sale because it hasn't been connected to what you're selling. Okay. But if you haven't figured that out yet, you're in a better position, because you will then know what to create that you know people will buy. So if your content isn't connecting to something that pays, it won't. Like the example I just shared about the person who had 5 million views on his YouTube channel and he wasn't making any money. My first question was, well, what are you selling? What are you offering for sale? And is it something that people actually want? Okay. So again, ideally, we start with a paid offer. Now, I'm also going to talk about how you can be in development of your paid offer, but the paid offer actually isn't ready for them to actually get. We're going to talk about that. It's something I'm doing right now that I'm going to share with you in a minute. If you have not developed the paid offer, or if you have the paid offer, again, it could be that the offer that you're creating either is not positioned properly, it's not talked about in a way that really leads people to say, oh, I need to get my hands on that. And if that is indeed the case, this next part I'm going to talk about is going to really the part you're going to want to really zero in on and tune in on, because it's going to really help you to either update the current paid offer that you have or scrap it and start over again with something new. Right? Now, if you don't have a paid offer, and what I mean a paid offer, and I mean you created something that you are making available, it's in a cart where someone can go buy it. But do you know do you know for certain, meaning, has someone actually already given you money for this? We can call something a paid offer because we just know, okay, it's on Amazon or it's on our website and someone can add it to cart and buy it. But to me, it's a paid offer when someone's actually paid you for it. We can call something a paid offer, but if we have not gotten money for it, no one has given us cash for it, it's not really a paid offer. It's a paid offer when money is actually exchanged. And you don't have to have it even completely ready to deliver for it to be paid. We're going to talk about that. So actually, the best position you could be in is what I'm going to talk about next. Is at this point, your content needs to lead to a conversation that leads to creating the paid offer. All righty. So if you don't have an offer yet, as I said a moment ago, you're actually in a great position. The first thing you're going to want to do if you don't have a paid offer yet, one of the best offers that you can create is an invite to a call. An invite to a call. If you are in connection with the audience that you eventually want to sell something to, I've said this before, if you're writing a book or you're creating a course or anything, a membership or whatever you're thinking about doing, and it's not ready yet, but you're not good, but you're going to wait until it's done and then post it up on Amazon or set up a website with a payment button there, whatever, but you haven't verified that this is what people really want, I'm going to tell you right now, suggest to you as strongly as I can to stop creating and get on the phone with at least three minimum, really, I would say closer to 10 people or more. They can just have a conversation with, find out where they are, find out where they are. It's one of the very few people talk about doing this because it's one of the most missed and overlooked opportunities, but most people don't do this. We get an idea in our head, we go and make it, we put it up on a website, we want people to go buy it, and then we've told no one about it. That includes books, but it also is courses, it's pretty much anything. And we've not proven concept. So just inviting people to get on the phone with you that you can ask questions of is one of the best pieces of it is the foundation of everything you create, no matter what it is, books, courses, whatever you decide to do. Okay. From that call and the information that the intel that you collect, you then start testing your ideas. One of the best questions you can ask once you get clear or have more clarity about what the offer is going to be is this. If I create this, or I'm thinking about creating this, if I create this, would you buy it? Will you buy it? And not just will you buy it, meaning down the line, but will you buy it now? And we will develop it together. Now that's a bold ask to get someone to buy from you when you don't have it ready to give to them. But I can tell you from personal experience, it works. It totally works. I'm going to share an example with you in a moment. People will pay you to create the offer. That's why I said a moment ago, stop writing the book, stop developing the course. Test the idea with money, people actually paying you to do it. So you build your paid offer from conversation, not you going off on your own, spending weeks, months, whatever, creating this, whatever you're doing. And then when it's all done, you come out with it and say, da-da, here it is, like then the Lion King where they're holding up Simba, but there's no one there. So no one knows Simba's coming. No one knows Simba's here because no one's there looking for, no one's looking for Simba. So we have to, but when we are working, if we have a community of people, even a small cohort that we're working with, we can build from the feedback and intel that we're getting. That's why this strategy works so well. Because those people that from those initial calls will be the people that will be a part of your offer that you will develop with them and be paid to do that while you're doing it. All righty. So if what I'm saying is resonating with you already, again, type it in the chat. And again, when I go to look at the comments, I will address them. Okay. And I would say, yeah, I will say this. If you have a paid offer, type a 1 in the chat. I think I may have asked this already. If you don't have a paid offer yet, type a 2 in the chat. If you have a paid offer, type 1 in the chat. If you don't have one yet, put a 2 in the chat. All right. Now, I said a moment ago I was going to share with you the experience. I have done this. So I'm not talking theory. I've done this. This is a coloring book that I created 4 years ago. I put it up on Amazon. I got a few sales here and there, whatever. I really wasn't even trying to sell the book on Amazon. That really was not my focus at all, to be honest with you. I did it because it was more of a personal project that I had. that I wanted to do for myself. But once I walked through the process of doing the book, I immediately knew that I wanted to help others develop a coloring book. Okay, I knew that immediately. But it took me a while before I actually went to actually develop that. So what I did was I looked at what I did to create that book. The first thing I did to create this book that you're looking at was I had certain research tools that I did to research what books were selling, what types of books I liked, and what kind of book I want to develop. So what I was doing was I was validating the book idea before I actually made it. Now, I wasn't overly concerned with sales, but I did want to research the market to figure out what book I want to do. I then turned that information, that research that I did, I turned that into what I called a three-part live workshop experience where it was called Validate Your Coloring Book Idea Before You Make It. I started out with a $67 ad spend on Facebook and invited people to join me in a Facebook group that then led to that 3-day experience where I walked people through how to validate the book idea before they made it. I'm gonna go back to screens here a little bit. I then invited people to a call. I invited attendees to a call and I asked the question, now that you have the idea for your book, would you are you ready or willing to invest in getting my support and helping you develop the physical book? Because I knew I could do that because I'd done it already. And they said yes. Okay. I went back to those people that I had those calls with, and I developed a presentation that I said, basically a condensed version of the 3-day experience. And I said, this is my idea. I want to help you go from the idea that you now have for the book that you validated, and I want to help you create the book and get it done in 30 days. And I made that available. And that was the idea that I was testing. And people bought it. I had 11 people buy that very first cohort of that course. At that time, it was called the Publish and Create Your Coloring Book in 30 Days program. And people bought it. The reason why I know it worked was not just because of the fact that I could show them how to do this, but it was the way I languaged it, the way I talked about it. And I knew by the way I talked about it is what enticed them to buy it. So my content was the Facebook ad that I did that led to the 3-day workshop that I did. You don't have to do a 3-day workshop. That's what I chose to do. Do a 3-day workshop, the phone calls that I did to get clarity about what they wanted and how they were languaging things. So then I could then test the idea to help them develop that book. This was a course that I created that I had no slides, no website set up, nothing. I didn't even have an offer page. All I did was I talked about it on a presentation similar to this, which, by the way, you can do something just like what you're watching right now. Invite people to a call, make an invitation, and then if you've zeroed in on what it is that they want, you can then invite them to pay you to be a part of an experience where you can build that then paid offer from the conversations that were happening back and forth over the weeks. It turned out to be, a few months that we worked on this. So I'm telling you what I know for a fact. I've done this. And as a result of that, that $67 ad spend turned into 5 figures in sales over the last few years that I've been doing this. And this is with a coloring book. So I know that this can work. I know this can work because I've done it. All right. Eventually, I did develop a whole course and a platform. Actually, this coloring book idea prep kit is what I renamed that Validate Your Book Idea Before You Make It. And this is actually everything I developed in that very first cohort that very first workshop that I did. But this is what the deal is. When I launched this, none of this that you see on the screen was available. None of this was available. I just did this from me talking to people. Maybe I had a Google sheet, a Google Doc that I shared, and conversations. I built this from the people I was working with once they paid me. So all this visual that you see, most people would do this in reverse. They would start out doing all this first and then go out and try to sell it. I'm saying don't do it that way. Don't do it that way, because now I know how to talk about this in a way to get people then to go over to go purchase it. All right. If what I'm saying is landing for you, again, type a one in the chat, like, okay, Rodney, I see this. I hear what you're saying. I get this. Or type a two in the chat and, well, I'm not quite sure. And if you're not quite sure, on either camp, I'm gonna tell you a way that you can get additional support from me to help you get this part figured out. All right. Now that I proved concept, I did something, again, I'm doing something different. I now prove my hypothesis that we don't go off into a cave, we don't go hide out, and then we go make the thing we're going to make, and then we come out with it and then start going, okay, here it is. So I'm doing something even bolder right now. This is actually an image that I created for my current one, a part of my current new offer that I'll talk about a little bit more. So I am in the process of writing a book right now, let me back it up. I'm in the process of building a book right now called The Authorpreneur Decision. I am basing a lot of what's going to go into this book based on this presentation that you're attending right now. What you're watching and experiencing with me right now is a part of me building the book. All righty. The book itself, and actually what I'll do is I'll stop the screen share for just a minute and I'll come back to this and I'll show it to you because I feel like you need to see it. So this is the book itself, Authorpreneur Decision. Okay, and this is the copy on the back. Now, this book, this is a mock-up of the book. And I'll explain why I did it this way in a second. The inside of this is completely blank. There's no copy, it's just line pages. I'll explain to you why I did this. I did this because, first of all, this is a twofold thing. If I have the physical iteration of what I want to create in my hand, it's going to then motivate me to get this done because it's now real, it's tangible, I can touch it. I'm going to talk about physicality and the importance of physicality in our content mix, in our offer mix. So having this book, this physical copy in my hand, is a psychological thing for me because it helps to keep me inspired and motivated. One. Two, I then, when I'm doing talks like I'm doing right now, I can show this. I can demonstrate what this is going to be. Now, what I'm inviting in a new cohort that I am developing, which I'm going to talk about more in a little bit, I actually will do this with a group of people, a small, intimate group of people who are going to help me develop this book in real time. So I'm not going off doing this and then coming out with it, like I said, like the Simba thing, like going, here it is, I'm not doing it like that. I'm actually going to develop the book with a small cohort that I call an incubator of authorpreneurs who are ready to do what we're talking about here in this presentation. When I decided to do this, and I did another YouTube video about it, the response to it was like, that's brilliant. It's brilliant. Because think about it. We have to sell ourselves first before we can sell other people on what it is that we're doing. I couldn't have done that validate your book idea before you make it had I not done my book. Now, at that time, I did the whole book, but now this is something different. I'm actually now going to develop the book with that initial cohort because guess what? that initial cohort of people that's in that incubator program, guess what's going to happen? They're going to get featured in this book. The work that we do together they're going to get featured in this book. And when they're featured in this book, it's going to lead people to their ecosystem. This is something that I don't hear a lot of people or anyone really talking about. So this is why I say you don't develop anything on your own. You develop it with a group of people who have invested time and, yes, money into helping you develop this. This is what I'm talking about, making content that pays. If you're not getting that already, like I said, you're just doing a spray and pray and you're not making money, this is why. You're deciding what people want, and you're not asking what people want. Now, I'm just presenting this as an idea. Until people actually sign up to be in my cohort, this may not go anywhere. Could I still just write this book without that? Absolutely. But I don't want to do it that way. I want to prove a concept here. All right. So let's go back over to the presentation. And I hope that again inspired you in a way that perhaps you don't hear a lot of people talking about. Right? Now, let's keep it going. So again, before I start making a whole bunch of content, I want to demonstrate the outcome. My content will be developed by presenting the outcome first. I want to let that land. When you get clear on the outcome that someone wants, when you get clear on the outcome someone wants, and you may not get that intel until you start talking to people, when you get clear on the outcome that someone wants. This is probably the most important part of this presentation. When you get clear on the outcome that someone wants, through those conversations, you will know what to make the content about. It's not about you just deciding what you're going to write about or what you're going to make a video about or a podcast about or this or that or whatever you're going to do. Once you get clear on the outcome someone wants, then you create the content that leads them to what they said they want. That's how you create content that sells your products, your services, and whatever it is that you're doing. Okay. So again, I'm going to go back to the author versus the authorpreneur. An authorpreneur builds a platform, an ecosystem that can be and should be monetized before the book is published. Before the book is published. This is what you need to focus on at this stage, building your platform and your ecosystem. And I'll talk about what an ecosystem is in a moment. Okay. Now, this is just a little bit of a sampling of what my incubator experience would look like. It will be a series of, some private podcast episodes. It's going to be more direct, but it's going to be not a course that I am developing and then you go buy it and then you go get it. We're going to be building it together. We're going to be working this together. I'm going to be there with you, helping you develop what I am developing for myself, developing with you, for you. So when you walk away from the experience, you've got your own authorpreneur ecosystem set up. So this is just a sampling of what the experience is going to look like. Okay. So this is what I'm going to say this too. I'm not posting just to stay visible. I'm not posting just to stay visible. I'm posting because I want to see what are people, again, a lot of us who are doing the volume play where we're just posting and posting and posting and posting and posting, that is focusing on us staying visible because we think, well, if people keep seeing me, they're going to eventually want to buy something from me. But if you haven't designed an offer for people, essentially you're just noise because you're competing with everything else that's in Instagram, YouTube, whatever. So it's not about your visibility. It's about you addressing what that person that's going to consume that video or that whatever that post is that you do, it's going to be about them saying they get me. They understand what I'm dealing with. And they may have an offer or an opportunity that can help me fix it. So we're focusing not on so much our visibility. Our visibility must contribute to the solution that the person that is looking for the problem, who is trying to get the problem that they're dealing with solved, right? So I'm not posting to get visibility. I'm posting to build something. Again, I'm not posting to stay visible. If I want to do a volume play, I could post a video every day. But if I'm just talking just to be talking, I'm just posting. That's for me. That's for me. But if I'm posting to build something, I'm leading people to an invitation opportunity. What I'm doing right now is I'm developing content. What you're experiencing right now with me is I'm developing content that pays. That's what this is. Again, most creators do this backwards. They go content first, offer later, and then hope. Content first, usually a volume play, offer later, and then hope once they do put something out that someone buys. In the reverse model, we do the offer first. We get clear about what someone wants. We get clear about that. Then we create the content that then leads them into eventually becoming, for the right people, a client, whatever that may mean. Whether they're buying, working with us directly, or they're hiring, or they're buying our books or our courses, or whatever it is that we're doing. So you start with offer first, clarity, offer first, content that then supports that, that then leads people to want to work with you. Content, yes, gets attention. Authority assets builds a business. Content gets attention. Authority assets builds a business. So let's talk about what that looks like. This is my second book that I developed several years ago. And it started from me, again, as building an authority asset. My authority asset was a 14 speaker virtual telesummit that I did. I invited a group of photographers and this was another business that I had. And I reached out to them, and this was around the time when the economy was not in a good position. And a lot of people were losing their clients, their jobs. I was one of them. And the focus was, okay, if things are changing like they are now, what are we going to do to continue to thrive in our chosen profession? So I invited experts in all different areas in the photographer space. And I created this telesummit, and I got 800 email subscribers. I went in less than 30 days from no one knowing me from a can of paint to having a 14 speaker virtual event and I got 800 subscribers, email subscribers. So this was the beginning of me building my platform, my authority platform. I continued the build of that platform by then creating a blog, and that blog became the book. That blog became the book. So I've been, like I said, testing this now for actually 15 years. I've been testing this. So I didn't start with this book. I started with building an event that led into me building a platform, an audience, a platform that then led to the book. That book, from that audience that I had built up and built goodwill with, one of the people who bought that book for $15. And then within 3 weeks to a month after he bought the book, he became a $15,000 client. That actually turned out to be close to $25,000. This would not have happened had I not done what I'm talking about with you today. That would not have happened. I promise you it wouldn't have happened had I not done what I'm showing you today. All right. So I developed from that what I called my authority flywheel. And I'm going to show you that in a second. So again, this is the flywheel, basically. I created the Photo Marketing Mentor Telesummit. Well, this is what, let me back it up. I was a photographer who had lost their clients. I knew that the economy was impacting the business. So I knew other photographers were out there struggling, trying to figure out what was next. I didn't have all the answers. I didn't have all the answers. So what I did was I reached out to colleagues, peers, and I said, I want to create an event that I will interview you to ask what you're doing to weather this storm. And these individuals all said, yes, I want to participate in this. They all shared the event, and that's how the email list grew from nobody knowing me to 800 people in less than 30 days, from idea conception to the actual event happening. Then I turned that into a book, to a blog that got repurposed as a book, and then the sales and all that I just said a moment ago. That was my authority flywheel. I didn't call it that at the time when I did that, but I had to have, but see, if I hadn't set up that platform for myself first, what ultimately led to 25K in my pocket would not have happened. Would not have happened had I not done that first. And if I had just been out there randomly posting content without getting clear about what is going on in the industry, would it have landed? Would it have not? But again, I reached out to people that I asked to participate in this. And the question I asked across the board to all of them is, now that things are shifting, what are you doing to weather this storm? Because at that time, no one really had all the answers. I didn't have all the answers, but between 14 different experts I interviewed, collectively, we did have at least some idea about what we could do to move forward. So when I say an authority flywheel, a thing of being an authority, I don't mean you have to have all the answers. As a matter of fact, I will go so far as to say you shouldn't have all the answers, but there are people that are aligned with your industry, aligned with your topic, that has an answer to the piece that they specialize in. So as us as an entrepreneur, as an authority, it's just as much about us curating and building a community around what we're doing and who we're connected to, as it is everything doesn't have to come from us, is what I'm trying to say. Everything doesn't have to come from us. We don't have to have all the answers, but we do build relationships with aligned people who do get what we do. And that is a positioning play that if you do it right, we are judged by association. If I'm aligning myself with people who contribute to the part that I talk about, I'm borrowing authority from them, they're borrowing authority from me. Okay? And that borrowed authority is what helps to get people's attention. So when the content you put out there leads people to that, they go, this person here actually knows what they're talking about. Now, you may not have all the answers, but you may have connections with your community of people who do have some of the answers that people want. But they will come to you because you now become the curator of all of that. And I'm going to talk about another really amazing and cool way to position yourself again as an authority in your space, which will make your content land better and increase your sales. Now, again, I talked about the authority engine, which is the authority flywheel. I'm going to actually show this in a bigger screen. This is basically an overview of what the authority publish creator flywheel looks like. Now, at the top, very top here on the right side, I say framework. Framework is basically what I call just your recipe. You should have had to have gotten a result yourself. As I mentioned a moment ago with my coloring book idea course that I created, I developed a book. So I knew what I did to develop that book. I knew what research tools I did. I knew what tools I used to develop the artwork for the book, the processing of the book, the formatting of the book, the publishing the book on Amazon. I knew all of that because I had done it. So at the core, you need to have done what you're offering. You need to have walked it yourself. Okay. So I don't want you to get hung up on the word framework. I just call it maybe your recipe. What is it that you have accomplished, whether it's how to make the best banana bread or how to create a coloring book or how to, do, I don't know, acrylic nails or whatever it is that you have done, you should have done it. You should have done it. So it starts there. It starts there. You've got to have You've got to have accomplished what you are offering people to buy. Then all you do at that point is you just start writing it down. You start writing it out. And now with great tools like ChatGPT, you can actually speak all of this out. And I'll tell you something. What I love about the ChatGPT speaking it out as opposed to writing it out feature, it shocks me almost every time I do it how much I honestly didn't even realize I had done. Like I had just completely forgotten about it. I've been so caught up in just doing what I'm doing of the moment that I actually forget about what I've accomplished, what I've actually done. And so when you're doing that sort of brain dump, is what I call it, you go, oh, wow, I actually really do know what I'm talking about. So I would say start there. From there, then you start focusing on some visibility. Now, what I mean by visibility is you start putting out content just to get some attention, but the goal should be to get people on a call. I would recommend actually before you even do the visibility piece is to actually, once you've gotten your recipe down, once you've gotten some clarity about what your framework is, your recipe, people who you want to eventually sell to, you should have some already contact with on some level. People that you actually already know in your circle. If you don't, I would venture to say that you probably do. So I would start with them first and then share what your process was, what you did. Like when I reached out, now I used Facebook ads because I didn't know anybody in my personal sphere that wanted to develop a coloring book. So I used a Facebook ad to get those initial people. Now, once I ran the ad, people responded to it. So you can use ads to be able to do that. If you don't know anyone in your personal sphere, you can do that. You absolutely can do that. And all you need is enough people to be able to then have conversation with so that you can deep dive into what you're going to create. So I knew that validating the book idea was going to be the first step. And then I had to also know what the next progression was going to be, which in this case was going to be then going from that into then the development of the book once they got clear on the idea. From there, I started focusing on the visibility piece. I started sharing the idea. In this case, I did that 3-day experience. I helped people figure out what the idea was. And that visibility, which was an invitation to join me, like I did with that telesummit for photographers, that piece there built up the audience. The visibility was addressing what they said they wanted, and that attracted the audience. I'm going to say that again. The visibility piece addressed what they said they wanted, not what I wanted to share, what they wanted. And then that invitation built the audience. And from the audience, I did deeper messaging, deeper calls, and then I developed the offer. And the offer was if I can walk you through how to get, this was my exact verbiage. If I can help you get the idea that you now have that I helped you figure out, if I can help you get that idea out of your head and into your hands, and I made an offer to help you develop that, would you buy that? And they said yes. And people bought it. And then they walked out with the book, which is on the left side. So this is the framework I actually developed, not realizing that's what I was doing. And then from that, then I created additional opportunities. All right. So this is worth a screenshot as well. Okay. Now in my incubator, I will actually help you develop this whole flywheel for yourself too. I just want to put that out there so you know about it. Now, I want to test this even further. It doesn't just work for me, it's working for the clients I'm working with. This is one of my clients, Anna Call-Schmidt. Anna Call-Schmidt works with people. She is ADHD, she has ADHD, and she is a very prolific content creator that talks about navigating the things that are happening in the workplace as a result of being a person that has ADHD. It's also another term for is neurodivergent. When she hired me, she was already developing this book that you see here. She had a huge following, up to 25,000 people were following her on TikTok. But when we looked at her email list immediately, she only had 100 people on her email list. And my immediate thing was, well, how can you have that many people following you and hardly anyone's on your email list? Well, she wasn't making any invitations to join her email list. So one of the first things that we did was we gave away a sample chapter from her book because her book was months away from being ready to go. She talked about that invitation to get that sample chapter in the content that she was creating. She was already addressing the issues, but so she didn't have a problem in that area, but she had no invitation. No invitation. So when we put the invitation out there to get a sample chapter from the book, that's the email grew 10x, the email list grew. Now, from that, I got the inspiration to help her create a paid community based on the book. In this case, we used school. Now that you have them in this container, that you have now built the foundation of your ecosystem, let's now have you support them as you're working on your book. We designed a bundle that if they bought the book, if they bought access to the community, they would get access to the community for 1 year and a physical copy of the book when it came out. That quickly generated her first 1K. So she already had the audience, but she was not leveraging them into her own ecosystem. We then took that, then developed a paid offer. I talked about this a moment ago, a paid offer. The offer was get the book in conjunction with being in this community where she does weekly 1 hour coaching calls just to support people dealing with with this experience. That resulted now in her getting a consistent about $500 a month. It's not a lot, but it is more than what she was making when she started, which was nothing. She was doing a bunch of content, but she wasn't getting any sales. Now, this is just from the community. She's also does private consulting as well. So there's additional monies coming in from consulting that she does, right? So I know, again, this system works. This is my other client, Nicole McCain. When Nicole came to me, she was already writing this book. This book was basically almost finished. What she did was she set up a pre-launch for the book up on Amazon. But what she did was she created a school community. She started doing, actually, let me go over to that slide. What she did was she started running her email list by offering a sample chapter from the forthcoming book. That's what, so we talk about create a school community, hosting weekly live events that was based on the sample chapter. What she did when she put her book up on Amazon, she made it available for pre-order. It means the book was going to be for $10, but she made it for 99 cents. People were buying the book about a month before the book actually went live. When the book was, but by what happened was she got her first four to 5 star reviews like right away. We then took those reviews from Amazon and we put those in the now coming out physical version of the book. We just set that up for publishing or printing the physical. So those first reviews is now in the first 4 or 5 pages of her book. We couldn't have gotten that had she not built the audience, had she not did a two-way conversation with the audience of people that she's working with, supporting, because by her supporting them, they supported her. She is then able to then, because of the way we structured it, she's developing content that pays because she's talking to people who want what she has, because she's clear about where they're struggling and what they want. So again, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier in the presentation. If you're just doing this on your own with no communication with the people who you're actually going to create these products and services for, stop, and start having conversations with people. It is going to move the needle. And you may discover it's not what you really want to do. You may actually discover that you don't really like this audience, or this isn't really resonating with you. You may discover that too. Isn't it better to find that out earlier than later? So again, I can recommend, this is the system. This is the system. Okay. Now that the newly released, literally, we just got the books set up on the database. It's going to be, national distribution coming out soon. But now we're going to then look at bundling the book with annual access to her programs and other recurring models that she has. But again, she was able to develop this book because she was in communication with the people that she is offering this to. All right. So again, I can't recommend this enough. Now, these last couple of examples. This is not someone I've personally worked with. This was actually a colleague's client. Her name is Kirsten DeCook, and she created a book called Dinner for One. One of the things I love, 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 love to do, and I cannot recommend enough, is if you can do something in person, please do your best to do something in person. Online is great, but if you can do something in person, really take advantage of that. This author created a book called Dinner for One, and she pitched Sir Latab, the gourmet food vendor. Or it's not food, it's food, but it's primarily cooking books and cooking utensils and pots and pans and things like that. It's really high end, luxurious, and they do a lot of workshops and classes. She pitched to do workshops for them online and in person. It's a great, again, this is still content, but now she's paid to create this content. So again, if there's an in-person experience that you can do, please, I implore you to do an in-person experience, because that is one of the fastest ways to get direct intel from people that you are creating content for. From that experience, I have no doubt in my mind that she can develop more content that's online that then will drive sales for the book and more in-person experiences. Now, Keisha Williams is one of my clients. She developed this book based on teaching her 9-year-old nephew about money, one alphabet at a time. One of the first things I said to her before this book was even available for purchase was, I said, you need to go to the local bank or credit union that specializes or offers bank accounts for children, savings accounts for children. Show them your book and have a conversation and have an invitation to do maybe like a Saturday, something like an event at the bank. Open up a bank account for your child, put $100 in the account or whatever number they come up with, and they'll get a copy of Keisha's book. Again, that's a perfect opportunity. Opportunities are all around us. So don't just focus everything online. Online is great for amplifying, but don't miss out on opportunities to do things in person. And when you can make things physical and tangible, it actually helps deepen the relationship faster, because so many of us do so much online. So I'm going to also suggest, well, I'm not going to suggest, because of everything that's happening with, and I'm not saying this about bashing AI, so I'll be really clear about before I preface what I'm going to say right now. We are really hungry for analog. We have gotten so roped, or it's not roped in, that's not the right verbiage. We have gotten so adapted to everything being online, ebooks and like I said, AI and all these other tools, that we're starving for physical. We're starving for physical. That's why, again, I did the physical mock-up of my book. I could have just showed you the digital version of it, but no, I wanted to have the physical book in my hand, because when I'm talking to people, I can hand them this book. I can show them this, okay? I saw a video last night on Instagram with Gary Vaynerchuk talking about the resurgence of analog. So if you can create something physical that people can touch, and what I'm going to share with you in a little bit is so exciting to me. Um, it's going to really, I really believe in my spirit, it's going to move the needle for a lot of us. So try to get some tangible, physical, tactile, face-to-face experience with people. Don't just do everything online. If you can create events in person, and then you can get video, pictures, whatever, then that's the content you can put on social media that then leads them to then want to know more about. Because not everyone's going to be able to come to your live experience. But if they can see it, they may want a piece of it, and they can buy online and or attend the next live experience that you do. So I'm not even going to suggest, I'm going to tell you, look at integrating an analog in-person experience into your online work, and you're going to move the needle a lot faster. Okay. The bottom line is we don't need more ideas. We just need better extraction. Okay. Where does your content send people? Where does it send them? Where are you taking them? Where are you leading them to? Now, again, your content should lead to, as I said earlier, an offer. I say a paid offer. Workshops, classes, it can be a physical, digital product. It can be memberships, coaching. It could be retreats. It could be anything that's a paid offer is where your content should be leading to. If you don't have that set up yet, start with the calls. I'm even going to say have calls even built into your paid offer. We need to be in constant communication with the people that we're working with. You also want to really start focusing on community. That's the second thing that I heard Gary Vaynerchuk confirm. I already knew it, but I'm just going to confirm it. Community is really important right now. People don't want to do everything by themselves anymore. Isolation and loneliness is at an all-time high. People are feeling like they want to be with like-minded people more than ever. So if you can build a community component into what you do, I recommend school, do it. Do it. It can be free or paid, but have a community. Invite people to have regular conversations with you, and then build out your offers based on that. We always heard the term funnel. Funnel is basically a lead magnet that can be, like I said, a sample chapter from your book. It can be a checklist. It can be a class. It can be a workshop. It could be an assessment. It could be a quiz. It could be a spreadsheet. It can be whatever. Whatever you know is what it is matters less. What matters more is what is the lead magnet about, and does it address what people are already saying? I have an issue here and I need support around this. So I worry less about the format it takes and more about, does the content address the first problem? As I said a moment ago, my first lead magnet was the validate your book idea before you make it. I didn't go right into go buying my course. There was no book to be made if you didn't know what the book was going to be about. So that was the first step. The second step was then. So that was the lead magnet. The introduction with the paid offer was, now that you've got your idea, now let's develop the book. That led to the invitation to work together on a deeper level. So your funnel really doesn't need to be anything more than that. What's the thing you're putting in front? Everything needs to set up the next thing. So at the end of the day, what I wanted was the invitation to work with me on a deeper level. That's what I wanted. But I couldn't just come out the box like that when no one knew who I was. So how was I going to get their attention? Well, I couldn't go into the paid offer because, again, no one knew who I was. So the lead magnet was, you want to develop a book. I knew that part. The first next progression question is, what's the book going to be about? I can help you figure out what the book should be about. Once you got clear about what the book should be about, what's the next natural progression? Now I got to develop the book. So I went from validate your book idea before you make it to get your book idea that you now have out of your head and into your hands. And that's the invitation to work with me in order for me to be able then to help you do that. That's what your funnel really is. There's only 3 pieces to it. But again, you only can do that once you know what people want. All right. So again, if the content doesn't lead somewhere, it doesn't pay. If it doesn't lead somewhere, it does not pay. It can't just be, oh, get this download, then no one hears from you. You've got to know what the steps are to get people to then take advantage of what you're creating. Alrighty, so I've covered a lot, and I've talked about this a moment ago, but I want to talk about this a little bit more. So I've created what I call the Authority Ecosystem Incubator, and this is actually a 5-week group experience where I'm going to help you build your content cash flow ecosystem. We're going to do that together. And a part of that is going to be being a part of this book. Because again, I had to go through my own Rolodex of my resume, really, of my experiences. And I was like, going, you know what, Rodney, you know how to do this. You've done this many times. And I didn't want it to be long. I didn't want it to be like it's going to take months to pull this together. I wanted something that was going to be faster turnaround, knowing how to find those first people, how to get that first information, how to get that first intel, how to figure out what those first offers are going to be, how to develop that offer, and how to set up your ecosystem so that what you're creating out there leads people to then wanting to work with you. Because again, I have found in my experiences that most of us are doing spray and pray. It's not working. It's not working. So this is why I created this ecosystem, this program. Again, I'm going to help you build this out. I'm going to help you get clear about what your recipe is, what your framework is. Because again, sometimes we can't see ourselves objectively. We need someone else's eyes on what we're doing to see the things that we can't see in ourselves. Because I know that once I get clear about that, once I get clear on my recipe, what it is that I do and the way I do it, then I know that when I make my content, my visibility must address those things. But not from what I know, but from the problems I know that person has that my framework, my recipe will solve. From that, then I will build my audience. This, what you're witnessing today, is an audience builder. I will then develop my offer, which in this case is my incubator. And then from that, working with people in real time and helping them develop their incubator, if you will, then I would then develop this book. And then more opportunities will come out of that as a result of it. Right? One of the first things that I'm going to have members do who join the incubator is they're going to get my From Content to Cash Flow workbook. This is actually a 10-part system that I developed to help you extract what's going on in your head. This will help you actually flesh out your recipe, your framework. Once we have this intel down, then we're then able then to know what to make the content around. Then we'll know what to make the offers around. Then we'll know what, this is how this whole process gets started. So this is going to be the first things that we do. First things we'll do is this. Okay. So the Authority Ecosystem Incubator is going to be small cohort. I'm looking at 10 or less. Weekly strategy sessions. There's going to be some guest expert sessions are going to come in. I'm going to invite some guests that support what I talk about to help you. And then we're going to also be looking at community collaboration, because collaboration is everything. It's everything. I have gotten more results faster by collabing with other people than me doing it all on my own. But knowing who to collab with is what's really important. Now, I will say this will work best if you already have something to promote. You already are creating content. You want it to lead somewhere. So if you already have something to promote, you already have something, you're already creating content already, you want to lead somewhere, then this will really work well for you. If you don't have anything to promote yet, you have no idea what you're going to be doing or no idea at all, I would say this is not the right time for you for this, because we need to have something to work with. Now, I do help you uncover that and unpack that inside of the From Content to Cash Flow workbook. But if you're not doing anything, I have nothing to work with to help you. Okay, so you need to be doing something already. This works for you if you have knowledge, ideas, a message, and a platform or a growing audience. So again, all of us have this. Most of the time, we don't remember what we know, or we forget. We get amnesia about what we know. That's why I was saying, at the very least, do a verbal brain dump. Get out ChatGPT and just talk it out and see what it comes back with. And see what it comes back with. Because again, we forget what we know, or we take for granted what we know. All right. Now, part of being a part of the Publish Creator experience is I will show you how to turn one conversation into authority, content, and yes, clients. Part of that is being a guest on my Publish Creator podcast, which then I will develop with you. I will co-develop with you a content strategy and content assets. We talked about assets earlier in the presentation. You will actually get assets. What I mean by assets, I mean you will have a published interview that you can send traffic to. That'll be a post on my podcast, but you can send that out to people to go and learn more about you. There will be links in your podcast episode to your first tier level of experience. Remember in that funnel I showed you, the funnel, which is a lead magnet, then leads to an offer, that leads to an invitation to work with you. I will help you develop that first funnel as a part of this. So you will get interviewed by me. We're going to put that on my podcast. It's going to be video on YouTube as well as audio blasted out through my iTunes. I can't think of the other one's called right now. It's Spotify. It gets sent out to all those platforms. Plus, in addition to that, I will actually develop an article for you, an actual article for you based on our experience. And I will publish that on LinkedIn, which I use, but you also can repurpose that article and use it in your own experience, for your own content. So you will get 3 content pieces from me off the bat. Plus, you will also get additional content assets like you will get a post, some carousel post, some video clips. So I will give you a whole library of content based on that interview that you can then use in order to drive more traffic and awareness to your lead magnet and your offer. So we can turn one conversation, we can build your authority, develop content that will eventually lead into clients and sales. But we start that with that initial conversation that needs to happen. And that once I'm clear about what your offer is and where you're sending people, once I'm clear about that, and we tested your offer, then we have figured out, okay, how we're going to get people into that. This is where this content strategy. So again, it's not about you figuring out what am I going to post. I'm actually going to develop your library with you, your first steps library with you to get you out there. All right. Now, this is something that I've been waiting the whole presentation to talk about, and I'm just like blown away by it. I literally just discovered this a couple of days ago, and I'm actually in the process of doing this right now. Remember a moment ago, I said that everything that we do now should not solely be digital. Digital is great. So the podcast obviously is online. The YouTube channel is obviously online. Even the article that I give you, which can be on your blog or on LinkedIn or wherever you want to put it, that also is online. But what if we could turn that into something that's physical? And I'm not just talking about a physical book. This can come, but what if we could start to develop something right now, something really what I think super cool that you can develop pretty much right away based on the assets that we've created in the incubator that you can start handing to people immediately to get more people into your ecosystem. So this is something physical. This is something that, again, I don't even know how I missed this or how I didn't know about this, but I discovered it and I couldn't barely go to sleep the other night. I was so excited about it. So without further ado, I'm going to share with you this idea, which actually I'm doing. I am launching the Publish Creator Print News. I got an inspiration a few days ago to do a print newsletter. I've been wanting to do something physical, something additionally, something that's more tangible, because I really believe if I can make it tactile right away, it will help to cement people quicker than just having everything being online. So there's a company that actually will print for independent, that will, print for us what is basically we're labeled as a newspaper. It's like a newsletter. But it's actually like, it's not like a newsletter like 8.5 by 11. It's actually bigger. Actually, you can fold this. This young lady is based in the UK, and there's a company she works with that actually can develop these newspapers, or what they call this newspapers. And what I love about this is it's in color. It's print on demand, so you can print as few or as many as you want. And what can go in this newspaper is the assets that we develop in the work together in the cohort. So for an example, I could take that interview that I do with you and that article that I do with you, and I can put that in the newspaper, in your newspaper. I can put pictures of you in the newspaper. And then we can figure out what other assets need to go inside of it. It can be just 4 pages. So it's basically like It's basically, front, open it out, page 2 and 3, and then the back. And it folds over like a newspaper. You can put recipes in there if you want. You can put graphs in there if you want. But I would actually help you develop your newspaper. And you can take this newspaper, you can print as little as one copy, or I would say print as many as maybe like 50 to 100 copies of it. Now, I'm gonna be fully if you decide to invest in this with me, I don't cover the cost of the printing, but I would help you with the design of it and what goes in it. But imagine being able to hand this to people and have them see it. And when you're talking about what you do, there's something tactile. It's not a business card which gets thrown away. It's color. It's not and it's not just online. But this is what's even better about this. What I think is even more cooler about this is you can have QR codes in your newspaper that lead back to your interview that you do with me, that lead back to or the podcast, that lead back to your own lead magnets, that leads back to your own things that we talked about, your own offers. You can even remember I talked about collaborations. Imagine if there's someone that is aligned with your industry that is perhaps not a direct competition of yours, but that because you'll learn it from me on how to develop you'll really learn my content creation process that you can then do with your collaborators that you work with, and then you can feature them in your newspaper. And then guess what? They are then now wanting to get copies of this to then hand out to their people. Okay. And then you are the publisher of this newspaper. So then all roads again are leading back to you. Now, if you then are going to do a workshop, you're going to do a class, you're going to do a course, you're going to do a school community, a paid school community, whatever it is, you can put ads of your own products in your newspaper. You could even take it a step further and even charge people to be in your newspaper. So now you can and start monetizing. All you need is maybe one or two people in there, and they're buying a little ad in your newspaper. At least that will help to cover the printing cost for you. You do the initial mock-up to show it to them, and then basically you can replicate what I'm going to teach you to then develop your own. I am so excited about this. I think this is I can't believe I just discovered this recently. This is like one of the most amazing ideas. But again, this goes into analog. Yes, I have an analog piece that I can then send people to my online assets. Now, imagine if I'm building this up and people are now in my community, they're now talking to me, how that's going to help me then develop eventually my book and my other programs that I want to do. And I'm not guessing anymore about what people want. I'm now in clarity about what I want. I'm aligning myself with other industry collaborators who support my industry. And I'm providing a vehicle for which they then can help more. Because if I help people get what they want, they'll help me get what I want. So I've been waiting the whole presentation to show you this because I'm so excited about this. I think this is the coolest thing. I actually hope to interview her because again, I think the idea is absolutely brilliant. And again, it's not a book, but it is something that starts to demonstrate your expertise, but it's something physical, tangible that will then help you then to develop the book that you do in a community type experience. All righty. All righty. So to learn more about all of this, so I'm going to stop it. So I'm going to wrap it up with this. If you're ready to stop thinking like a content creator, but start thinking like a published creator, I want to recommend again that you check out the incubator. But that starts with you doing the Authorpreneur Readiness Assessment. As I said, this is a cohort of the program that I am really want to work with people who are ready for this. And in order to be able to do that, I need to take the temperature of where you are. So if you click on the QR code here, and I'll also put the link in the description, If you click on the link, you should be able to go to my assessment, fill that out. There's information about what the first cohort is going to be, the price point for it and everything. I'm not going to quote that on here because, again, the price it is currently now is not going to stay that price. I can promise you that. And I really want this to be intimate. I want this to be hands-on and very tactile. And I know to do that, I need to keep it small. So, and I'm looking to launch this starting the 1st of May. So it's not going to be for another probably like 30 days as I'm doing this now on March 31st. But I am going to be talking about this over the next 4 weeks. So if you are a potentially right fit for this, do fill out the assessment. If nothing more, it'll help you get clarity about where you currently are. All right. So again, take a picture of the QR code, go over there and do the assessment. If you're watching the video, I'll also put the link in the description and also in the comments. And if it's the right fit for you, I would love to have you be a part of that experience. I just know that, we are working so hard. Many of us are working. I'm going to stop the video share at this point. We are working so hard. We're doing a lot to get ourselves out there. And it can just feel like that is anyone listening? Is anyone paying attention to us? Is what we're doing even working? And it can be isolating and it can be lonely. But I know this because I've ran a paid group program now for over 4 years. It's not, it is if you're doing it all by yourself. That's another reason why I didn't want this to be a one-on-one thing. I know that the energy of a group helps people to feel not alone. Even if, and they don't even have to be aligned in the same industry as you, but to see different people from different stages and what they're going through helps. It helps deal with the isolation. It helps to deal with the loneliness. It helps to deal with the constant decision making that we have to do, and wondering if anyone hears or sees us, or someone may have an idea or a suggestion or a tip. I have seen in my current program the way everyone shows up for one another. It's just been, I love it because first of all, it doesn't put it all on me, but it helps people in ways that go beyond just what I'm telling you, just what I'm telling you. And so what I'm going to really highly recommend you do, if this feels like the right fit for you, to really give this serious consideration, because as I said, one of the four pieces in the presentation, I talked about community. We're living in a time right now where people are feeling so alone, and your family may support you and love you, but they don't fully understand the journey that you're walking. And yes, there's Facebook groups and all of that stuff and school communities. And sometimes you can find people in there that you can talk to, but a lot of times you're kind of, still on your own. But if you got a scheduled time to show up, to be in a place where you're going to get direct support, that to me is my sweet spot. That's the thing I want to encourage you to replicate in your own business, because what two or more are gathered there, what two or more are gathered, we can't do this by ourselves. It's too much. So again, if this really speaks to you, if this really resonates with you, I can't recommend highly enough that you give this serious consideration. Again, I'm going to pop the screen back up here and I'm going to show you the QR code. And let me go back to share. And then I will see if there's any questions. Do take the assessment. And yeah, I would love to, if it's the right fit for you in the right time, I'd love to support you in this way. I'm very, very excited about this. And I can promise you now that the price that I am offering for this right now, it will not stay this price. I promise you that. Um, but it's on my heart right now to really help the right people right now. And so I'm offering this right now for this. And then, like I said, we'll go from there. We'll go from there. But anyway, let me see if there's any questions. I'm going to go over to also YouTube, see if there's any questions or comments there I need to address. And if not, I'll go ahead and wrap this up. But let me pop over to, let's see, I think there's a couple of questions here on Zoom. Um, Okay, Roxanne says, yes, I love the print newsletter. Yeah, oh my God, I was so blown away by that. I was so blown away by that. I was just like, how did I not hear about this beforehand? I've already ordered the samples to come in the sample kit, and my goal is to have the first issue out within the next 30 days, to have that first issue out. Yeah. Yeah, building a book with a community, or building anything, not just a book, Roxanne, building anything in a community building anything in collaboration with other people makes it so much easier to do. And make sure that you're putting out a product that people actually really do want. Because again, we can get caught up in what we think somebody wants without really knowing for sure that's what they want. And also, too, I'm going to say, at least in regards to a book, I feel that's even more important to do it in collaboration because again, if your book is around how to education or anything along those lines, guess what? Just like what I'm offering in my book, you get to feature those people in your book, as case studies in your book. So now they literally are a part of the asset that you're creating. They're a part of it. So how much like the newsletter it's going to make them want to show up because they might get a chance to be a part of what you're doing if it's a right fit, obviously. That's what makes it even more powerful for people as well. Okay, let me just pop over. I'm going to stop the share on this, and I'm going to go over and look at Facebook and see if there's anything there. Okay, okay, great. Oh, okay, cool. I was looking at some of the comments here. Yeah, for you, Roxy, in particular, that newsletter idea is amazing. Yeah, gearing up for the workshop in person. Okay, Stella says, um, this is also a fun idea for creating ephemera for collage artists. Wonder if the computer can make it look vintage? Yes, they can. Answer your question about Stella about vintage? Yes, they can. Um, you can definitely make it look vintage. Um, Yeah, there's so much there. There's so much there. I just like I said before, I just so believe we have so many resources available to us now, and that's a good thing, but I also think it's a challenging thing because especially for us as creatives, because we can get really like, well, which one do I do? Which way do I go? It's like, which way did he go? Which way did he go? Kind of thing. And what can happen is we can sort of paralyze and not do anything because we don't know what to do. This is why I wanted to create a system and a plan that people went through together and they were able to not have to guess what to do or which it should do. Like I said, I believe it should be both. I believe that there needs to be an analog component to what we do as well as a digital component to what we do. What's happening for most of us is relying primarily on digital, which is fine, but the digital space, especially after COVID, has gotten more and more crowded. It's harder to stand out. It fosters the idea that you need to be in constant content creation mode, which you really almost have to be right now because there's so many more people doing what we all individually do. But again, it's not just about developing a bunch of content for the sake of playing strictly a volume play. It also must be quality content that actually addresses what people really are dealing with. And so not all content is the same. Not all content is the same. So being able to know how to address it, how to position it, how to talk about it, how to do it in a way that actually gets people's attention because imagine online everybody is looking. I mean, everything in that algorithm is based on what you've been looking at. The algorithm isn't downplaying our stuff. It's whatever else they're clicking on. So if they're clicking on cat videos and they're clicking on videos about, this, that, and the third, ours may show up and it may not show up. So then the immediate thought becomes, well, I got to do more. I got to do a volume play. Well, that's exhausting. I would rather do less and higher quality and multiple touch points than to do a spray and pray of a bunch of stuff and hope that something sticks. And I'd rather address people where they are in terms of their learning modality, because some people like to read, some people like to watch, some people like to listen. So if in my strategy, we do all three. So you don't have to decide which one. They can watch the video or they can listen or they can read about it. Then to take it a step further, then there's a physical, tangible piece that they could also have, which serves as a perfect reminder to go back to watch the online stuff. Because you can put QR codes in that newspaper that go back to the video, that go back to the podcast, that goes back to the, whatever, you know. So it works, it's a flywheel. It works in unison. It works in unison. But again, we can't, but again, if we're trying to just, and again, you don't do any of this until you talk to people. You got to talk to people. We got to know where they're at. We got to know what they're talking about. We've got to know what it is that they want solved so that we know what to create. And so again, that's a part of what I talk about in the assessment. Part of what that is, if you're a right fit, is that we actually will get on the phone and talk together. I'm not going to just put a link to go buy this. We actually need to have a conversation. And then based on what happens in the conversation, then if it's the right fit for both of us, then I'll extend the invitation to go sign up. So I'm demonstrating to you what I'm wanting you to model for yourself. That's really what this is all about. From the book idea all the way down, or the mock-up of the book all the way down to the program that I'm creating right now. All righty. All righty. Well, this ran a little bit longer than I had planned. I didn't mean to go this long. I apologize for that. But like I said, I just felt like I had a lot to get over to you, and I wanted to I didn't want the month to end without me at least doing something. And so I decided just to do this. I didn't do a real big push for this event. I will be doing this again for sure, but I wanted to do it as a live stream. So I may or may not put it up as an audio podcast because it's almost like 2 hours. So maybe too long. I'll see. I'll see how I feel about it. But I feel like this is better if you can watch it as opposed to listen to it. So the replay will be up. I'm not going to take it down for right now. And again, the link to the incubator, if you want to apply for that via the assessment, feel free to do that. If anyone has any last questions, let me know. If not, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. And if you found value in this, I'd love it if you would share this with other people that you think might be interested in everything I've talked about, not just the incubator. I want this to get into as many people's hands as possible as well. And yeah, I think it would be really, really, really good. All righty. So let's see. Any last questions? No? Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Roxanne. I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, share the video, comment. Like I said, I'm going to put a link in the description, in the caption, I'm going to do a pinned comment at the bottom of this to the incubator app, to the assessment. I'm sorry, I keep saying incubator, to the assessment application. And well, this assessment's not application, but anyway. And then, yeah. And again, if you know someone and again, I am going to be running this again. I'm going to be like tweaking and tweaking this up more and then doing this again over the next 4 weeks. Like I said, I'm looking to kick this off in the first week of May. So I'm giving myself plenty of time to, get this out there. All righty. Well, thank you almost so much for your time. I appreciate you watching. Again, if you watch all the way through, clearly this is something that's resonating with you, and I would recommend that you give it serious consideration for future. If I do post this up as an audio podcast, again, this is a longer episode than I normally would do. But if you want to watch the video version of this, I recommend going over and checking out the video version of it on YouTube. And if you want to learn more about all of it, the fastest way to do that is to go do the assessment. And then we can, if it's the right fit, then we'll talk further. All righty. Thank you all so much. All right. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day, weekend, or not weekend, not the same weekend, it's only Tuesday. And yeah, we'll see you on the next round. All right. Everyone take care of yourselves. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. All righty. Bye-bye.